Hi, my name is Eric Levine, and Pet Supply Company is my final project for the semester. Pet Supply Company is a web application that's designed to be a basic e-commerce site. It allows users to log in and browse products, and then optionally create an account in order to save items to a shopping cart. In addition, there's an administrative function, so an admin can log in and then manage the items in the store, what categories they fall under, as well as the users who have created accounts. The architecture for Pet Supply Company follows the MVC pattern, so that defines how URLs are responded to, what controllers handle them, what views they get passed off to. All the application data is stored in an HSQLDB database, so that's a very portable Java database along the lines of Derby or H2, if you're familiar with those. And the information stored in there includes all the items, the categories, the user accounts, as well as the state of the shopping cart that each user has. In addition, there's some security built in, so there's authentication, meaning users and admins can log in and the web application verifies their identity so it knows who they are. And then based on that, there's authorization of certain areas of the site. So only admins can access the admin section, and then only users with accounts can view a shopping cart, and they're only able to view their shopping cart. They can't view the cart of other users. Also, all the logins in the admin section are protected by SSL, so that provides confidentiality of the data that's moving between the server and client. Some of the technologies I used, really, it's based around Spring Roo. So Spring Roo is essentially a command shell, which lets you define your models, what fields they have, the controllers you want, how you want persistence to be handled, and what persistence methods should be provided. And based on your commands, Roo will do a lot of the initialization of those things. So it'll create some XML configuration for you and generate some kind of stub classes for you to use. And really what it's doing is tying together a lot of the Spring technologies. So it's based on Spring MVC, so that's Spring's web framework, where you use a lot of annotations to define your controllers and what methods will respond to different URLs and pass data off to different views. It also uses Apache tiles behind the scenes, so tiles lets you define JSPs for your header, footer, menu, and body, and it lays those out in a consistent way. And then for different views, you could swap out those different components. Most of the time, you're just changing the body and you're staying with a consistent menu and header. Hibernate is handling the object relational mapping, so it's kind of a layer between the database and the objects themselves. Lets you not only persist but query your data. And then Maven is the build system being used. So there's a pom.xml file in the root folder that defines all the dependencies of the project. So Maven will go out and download those jar files. It'll compile the application, test it, package it up. And then there's also plugins to let you run a Jetty server or a Tomcat server and deploy the application out to it. Okay, I'm going to start by showing the initial running of the web application and then the administrative functions to populate it with data. So I think the easiest way to run the site is using Maven, especially if you already have that installed on your system. I did find that I had to set the memory size for Jetty. So if you set the Maven ops environment variable, and then these are just some standard Java arguments to set your JVM memory. So here it's going to hopefully go between about half a half a gig to a gig of memory as it needs it. I think the memory problems I saw were probably because as I was doing development, the server was reloading the application a lot. But with these settings, it runs pretty smoothly. The other thing to note, when you're in the top level or inside the root folder of the project, if you just execute this command, this mvn jetty run, it'll launch the Jetty web server and load up the application inside of it. So I think that's the easiest way to get started. Also, because in the pom.xml, the Maven configuration file, I've made sure to set up Jetty with the right listener for HTTPS, so it's listening on the right port for that. And I also integrated the generation of the certificate. Otherwise, if you're deploying your application, your server needs to have those things properly set up. So again, with the Maven Jetty run, those things will be taken care of for you. And once you launch the site, here's the initial load of it. So you get kind of some of the static content here, but you could see that we don't have any categories. And once we populate that, we could browse into items. So the first thing I'm going to show is logging on as an administrator. And so you need to go to petsupply/admin. And you can see that we're going to a login here, which is secured with HTTPS. We're getting this warning because we generated our own certificate, which is expected. So now I'm at a login. Again, it's still protected by SSL. And here, so for a typical user, you'll log in with your email address as your name. But for the admin, it's a special case where there's a username admin and password admin. And we tell that to you right over here. Obviously, for a real site, you wouldn't leave this in. One thing also to note, the form is doing some client-side validation. It won't let you submit it until you enter a password, and you can reset it here. So I'm going to log in with admin, and now we see our administrative view, where now we can manage categories and items and users, as well as some of the security roles here. And just to show you, right now we don't have any data, but if I click on this load database entries function, now it's going to populate our site. And you should see now we have categories and we have a whole bunch of items defined. And through this admin page, we could go back and we can edit or add things. So, if you wanted to edit the category for collars and, I don't know, add an exclamation point or something, you could do that and it's saved. Same here if we wanted to create a new item. We could do that as well. And then you could also select which categories the item would belong to, set a price, and then as well send a URL for the image to be displayed along with that. I'm not going to add a new item over here though. Finally, on these views, you could also delete items as well using these icons over here. So now that I've done this, if I go back to the home page, and keep in mind I'm still logged in as the admin here, so we're going to get some extra menus on the side. One thing that goes along with authorization in the menu JSP, I'm using Spring Security to determine which tags get rendered. So it's checking to see if we're logged in as the admin, it's going to render this part of the menu here. And we'll see in a bit, if you're logged in as a user, you won't get that. So now the site's populated with data, and on our home page we get the featured items on the front here, as well as categories where we could go and browse items. So here are beds, treats, and collars, as well as the featured items by themselves. And I'll log out of the site, and now since I'm logged out, this is the view that you would get as just an anonymous user coming over to the site. So now we're going to look at what I think is a more typical workflow for a user. So they're going to come to the site not having an account yet, not logged in, and they're going to start browsing around. So they see some of the featured items at the bottom here. maybe they'll click to some of the other categories, and finally they're going to decide they want to add something to their cart. So they click the Add to Cart button, and now at this point they don't have an account yet. So they have a login page, but in this case they're going to want to sign up because they don't have that account. So they're going to enter their information, an email address, as well as a new password. And then there's also a CAPTCHA here. This one's kind of hard to read. It's probably easier. Okay, and finally hit save. So this will go and create a new account for them, but there's one additional step. So it's going to send an activation email to the user, which hopefully has come in by now. So here I'm logged into my Gmail, and I'm running a search just so I filter out everything else in my inbox. But now I've received the email, and it's asking me to click on this link to activate my account. And so now I should be able to log in with the account I just created. And now I can start adding stuff to my cart. So I added some begging strips, and I'll add a couple other things. And so in my cart, now you can see the items I have and what the total cost would be. And I can also remove items if I want. So that's the basic workflow for the user. They could also log out. Just to show you again, if I want to add something, just to try to show that the cart state is saved based on the user. I could go back and view my cart, and that's how it was before. Or again, I could add another item to it. So there's a couple final things that I want to point out. So again, I'm still logged in under the account I created, and just to show the authorization piece, if I try to access the admin site, I get access denied. So that's right. I'm just a regular user. I shouldn't be allowed to have access to this portion of the application. So I'll log out and log back in as the admin, and we'll see that now I do have access to that site again. The other thing to show, now that I do have a user account, someone's registered, and now we can administer that account. So we could just view the details here, or by clicking on this icon we could go in and edit any of the information. We can lock out the account if we want to, or disable it. Both basically do the same thing. When the activation is confirmed, the enable gets set. The other thing to note, the password is not being stored in the application. It's the hash of the password, so that's a good security practice. And another nice piece, I thought this activation date field was pretty nice with the calendar widget over there. And then we could save changes to the user if we want to. So that concludes the demo of the Pet Supply Company web application.